My girlfriend mocked me for going back to school at my age and said it was embarrassing, but I graduated with honors, got promoted into her dream job, and ended up becoming her boss. When I told Claire I was thinking about going back to school for my master's, I expected at least some hesitation, but ultimately support. That's what partners are supposed to do, right? Lift each other up, even if they don't fully understand the dream. Instead, she burst out laughing. Not the warm, "that's cute" kind of laugh. It was sharp, dismissive, cruel. Going back to school? At your age? What are you going to do? Sit in a classroom full of kids half your age and pretend you belong there? I froze. I wasn't sure how to respond. I was 32, not exactly ancient. Plenty of people went back for advanced degrees later in life. Still, the way she said it, like the idea was beneath me, made me feel like I'd just suggested becoming a professional skateboarder at 50. I tried to brush it off. It's not about age, Claire. It's about opportunity. I've hit a ceiling at work. Without a master's, I can't move up, and I don't want to stay stuck forever. She scoffed, pulling her phone closer. Sounds like a midlife crisis in a classroom. That night, lying in bed next to her while she scrolled TikTok, I stared at the ceiling and wondered why I even shared my plans with her. The truth was, I'd been dreaming about this for years. My undergrad had gotten me in the door at my company, and I'd done well, but the higher positions, the ones with actual influence and pay to match, were out of reach without an advanced degree. I had saved up, research programs, and finally decided to pull the trigger. The program was demanding, organizational leadership, heavy on strategy, management theory, and real-world case studies. It wasn't just about academics. It was about proving I could push myself further than I ever had before. But instead of seeing my ambition as something admirable, Claire treated it like a punchline. Every step of the process, she made a comment. When I was filling out applications, "Why waste the money? We could take a vacation instead." When I got my acceptance letter, "Congrats, you're officially the oldest freshman on campus." When I bought textbooks, "Who even uses textbooks anymore? You look ridiculous." At first, her words chipped at me. I started second-guessing myself. Was this a mistake? Would I regret spending the money and time? But then something unexpected happened. Her mockery became fuel. Every time she rolled her eyes, I stayed up an extra hour studying. Every time she muttered, "embarrassing," I pictured myself walking across that stage, diploma in hand, while she sat in the audience with nothing to say. When classes started, reality hit me hard. Balancing a full-time job with night classes and group projects was brutal. I'd get home after 11 p.m., collapse into bed, and wake up at 6 to start again. Claire didn't make it easier. She hated that I was never around. She'd pout when I had to study instead of watching Netflix. She'd sigh loudly when I grabbed my laptop on weekends for research. One night, after I turned down yet another dinner out with her friends because I had a paper due, she snapped. "You've completely changed. You're obsessed with this stupid degree." I didn't sign up to date a ghost. I looked at her across the living room, exhausted but steady. "I'm doing this for us. For a future where we don't have to scrape by. Doesn't that matter to you?" She didn't answer. She just shook her head and muttered, "Embarrassing," under her breath. But despite her constant digs, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't embarrassed. Not anymore. I was proud. And for the first time, I began to see her comments not as truth, but as proof of something bigger. Claire wasn't afraid I would fail. She was afraid I would succeed. Afraid I'd become someone she couldn't mock anymore. Afraid I'd grow beyond her. And quietly, without saying a word, I promised myself I would. Going back to school in my 30s wasn't some romantic, movie-like decision. It was brutal. I was surrounded by people younger than me, quicker with technology, fresher with theory. On my first day, I walked into a lecture hall filled with students who had just finished undergrad, still buzzing with that endless energy, while I was already drained from an 8-hour workday. But I sat down, opened my notebook, and told myself, this is what will change things. And it did. The first semester was hell. I'd work from 9 to 5, then head straight to campus for evening lectures. Most nights, I wouldn't get home until close to midnight. My weekends became marathon study sessions filled with case studies, group projects, and endless presentations. I'd collapse into bed, my mind buzzing with theories and strategies, only to wake up and do it all again. Claire didn't make it easier. At first, she pretended to be supportive. She'd say things like, "I'm proud of you, babe," but her tone was hollow. like she was reading lines from a script. By month 3, the mask slipped. You think you're some big shot because you're learning about supply chains and management theories? You're still just the same guy with a boring desk job. That stung, but it also hardened me. I stopped expecting her to cheer me on. Instead, I found motivation in other places. My professors noticed my effort. My classmates started asking me for advice, since I could tie theory to real-world workplace experience. Even my manager at work began pulling me aside. I can tell grad school is sharpening you. The way you handled that client account. Top notch. Keep this up, and we'll be talking about a leadership track for you. It was the first time in years I felt momentum. Meanwhile, Claire was stuck. She still worked the same administrative job she'd been complaining about for 2 years. She'd vent about her coworkers, about the pay, about how she deserved better, but she never did anything to change it. And the more I grew, the more she resented me. The fights escalated. Why do you spend all your time at the library? Don't you care about us? I do care. But I'm building something. For both of us. Don't say that. You're building something for yourself. You don't even think about me anymore. I wanted to shout back, maybe because you never once celebrated me. But I swallowed it. Instead, I kept working. Her words became background noise, fuel for late-night study sessions. Every insult turned into another paragraph written, another concept mastered. By the second year, everything shifted. I wasn't just surviving classes anymore, I was thriving. My GPA put me at the top of my program. Professors started recommending me for networking opportunities. I got invited to leadership conferences, where I rubbed shoulders with executives who treated me like a peer, not just some student. At work, I started applying what I learned. I streamlined workflows, cut inefficiencies, and brought in measurable results. Clients noticed. Upper management noticed. Claire noticed too, but not in the way I'd hoped. You're different now, she told me one night, her voice sharp. Like you think you're better than me. I didn't respond, because part of me realized maybe I was. Not better as a person, but better in ambition, better in drive. She hadn't moved an inch since I started this journey, and I was miles ahead. Graduation day came faster than I expected. I walked across the stage, summa cum laude. My name echoed through the auditorium. Professors shook my hand, classmates cheered, my family cried in the audience. Claire? She didn't even show up. She texted that morning. Sorry, brunch with the girls ran long. I'll celebrate with you later. I didn't respond. That night, my parents took me to dinner. My professors sent congratulations. My classmates posted photos online, tagging me in every memory. And Claire posted a picture of her mimosa glass with the caption, Self-Care Sunday. It was the moment I realized she wasn't just unsupportive, she was actively rooting against me. 2 weeks later, the email arrived at work. Promotion. Corporate Strategy Associate Director. It was a title Claire had dreamed about for years. She used to say, one day, I'll get out of admin and move into strategy. That's where the real money is. But she never put in the work. No certifications, no extra training, nothing. Meanwhile, I walked right into it. When the announcement email went out, my inbox exploded with congratulations. I stood by my desk, shaking hands with colleagues, smiling at their kind words. Across the office, Claire froze in her chair. Her screen lit up with the same announcement, the bold letters of my new title glaring back at her. She didn't congratulate me. She didn't even look my way. Because now, the embarrassing guy who went back to school at 32 wasn't just her boyfriend anymore. He was her boss. Update 1. The Monday after my promotion, I woke up earlier than usual. I pressed my suit, shined my shoes, and slipped the new badge clipped to my belt. For the first time in years, walking into that building didn't feel like trudging into routine. It felt like arrival. The atmosphere in the office was different too. Colleagues who once brushed past me now stopped to congratulate me again, shaking my hand, patting my shoulder, asking when we could catch up over coffee. My inbox was a battlefield of meeting invites. Everyone wanted a slice of my attention. And then there was Claire. She sat 2 rows down in the open plan office, at the same desk she'd had for years, shoulders stiff, her eyes locked on her monitor as if ignoring me could make me disappear. But she couldn't ignore the fact that the very first email I sent that morning was addressed to her. Subject, weekly kickoff, mandatory attendance. Claire, please be prepared to present the admin workflow updates you've been tracking. Regards. Opie. She opened it immediately. I could see her screen reflected faintly in the glass wall of my office. Her jaw tightened. For years, she'd teased me about being a 9 to 5 nobody, and now she was reading an email where I was her direct supervisor. The meeting started at 10 a.m. I walked into the conference room first, placed my notes on the table, and nodded to the small group filing in. Claire entered last, avoiding my eyes, clutching her notebook like it was a shield. "Good morning, everyone," I said, letting my voice carry. "As you know, I'll be stepping into this role overseeing strategy and operational efficiency. Today, I want to hear where each of you are in your projects. Let's start with Claire." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. She hadn't expected me to call on her first. Well, she stammered, flipping through her notebook. "I've been compiling the weekly workflow data, but it's not finalized yet. I didn't know we'd be presenting today." A couple of her co-workers shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. I kept my tone neutral, professional. "Claire, we've discussed accountability before. Part of your role is making sure data is updated on time. If it isn't ready, then you'll need to set a concrete deadline and stick to it. When can we expect completion?" Her cheeks flushed crimson. "By end of day," she whispered. "Good. Make sure it's submitted before close of business," I said, then moved on. The rest of the meeting flowed smoothly, but I could feel her tension radiating like static electricity. Every time I spoke, she shifted in her seat. Every time I asked a question, she braced as if waiting for me to call her name again. When the meeting ended, her coworkers lingered, chatting with me about new initiatives. Claire slipped out silently, heading straight for her desk. By lunch, whispers had already spread. I overheard two employees near the break room. "Can you imagine? Reporting to your own boyfriend." "Ex-boyfriend, actually," the other corrected. "Didn't you hear? They broke up before his graduation." Claire's humiliation was complete, and it was only day one. That afternoon, she appeared at my office door. She knocked softly, her voice low. "Can we talk?" I gestured to the chair across from me. She sat down, fidgeting with her pen. This is weird," she started. "Us? You being my boss." I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands. "It doesn't have to be weird, Claire. I treat every employee the same. My expectations are clear. Do your work, meet your deadlines, communicate openly. That's it." Her eyes darted away. I never thought things would turn out like this." I almost laughed. Neither had I. But I kept my face calm, professional. Life has a funny way of surprising us. She bit her lip, like she wanted to say more, but instead she stood. "Fine, I'll finish the report." And she left. Watching her walk back to her desk, I realized something. For years, she had mocked me, belittled my ambitions, made me feel small for dreaming bigger. Now, every workday would be a living reminder that her arrogance had cost her. Not just our relationship, but the future she'd always claimed she wanted. And the best part? I didn't have to gloat. I didn't have to say a word. Her silence said everything. Update 2.by the second week, the novelty of my promotion had settled in for everyone, except Claire. For the rest of the office, I was just the new boss. For her, I was a daily reminder of every cruel laugh, every dismissive comment, every moment she had told me I wasn't enough. At first, she kept her distance. She'd slink into meetings, speak when spoken to, then dart out as if the air in the conference room was toxic. But soon, something shifted. It started small. One Tuesday evening, as I packed up my laptop, she stopped by my door. "Hey, do you want to grab a drink? Catch up." I looked up, meeting her hopeful eyes. Once upon a time, those eyes could undo me. Now, they just looked desperate. "I don't mix work and personal life," I said evenly. "Enjoy your night." Her smile faltered. She left quickly. 2 days later, she tried again. This time, it was an email, subject line, "Congrats again. I never properly said how proud I am of you. You've worked so hard, and I know I wasn't always supportive. I hope you can forgive me." I stared at the words for a long time. My cursor hovered over the reply button, but then I clicked archive instead. No reply. By the third week, the office began to notice. One of the junior analysts stopped me in the hallway. Is everything okay with Claire? She's been different." "Different how?" I asked. "She stays late. She looks nervous all the time. And I think she cries in the bathroom after meetings." I kept my face neutral. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll keep an eye on her performance." Inside, though, I couldn't help thinking. Now she knows what it feels like to be diminished. To be small. The breaking point came during a Friday meeting. I asked her to present updates again. Nothing complicated, just a summary of workflow changes. She froze halfway through her slides. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. Finally, she muttered, "I can't do this," and rushed out of the room. Silence filled the space she left behind. All eyes turned to me. I took a breath. "Let's move on," I said calmly, flipping to the next agenda item. But later that afternoon, HR called. Claire had filed a concern about how I was managing her. Not an official complaint, just a note that she felt singled out. The HR rep was polite but firm. "We know your history with her. Just be mindful." I nodded, keeping my tone professional. "Understood." Inside, I laughed bitterly. Singled out? She used to single me out in our relationship every chance she got. That weekend, my phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. It was a number I didn't recognize. The text read, "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I miss us. Can we at least talk? Please." I didn't reply. The next morning, another, "I'm sorry for how I treated you. You deserve better. I was wrong." Still, no reply. By Sunday night, she tried calling 3 times. Straight to voicemail. Her silence at work the following Monday was deafening. No drinks, no emails, no texts. Just the quiet weight of her regret pressing into every corner of the office. I realized something important that week. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't shouting or humiliating her back. It was my calmness, my distance, my refusal to give her the attention she once weaponized against me. Her friends could praise her honesty all they wanted. But sitting across from me in staff meetings, answering my direct questions, watching me thrive in the role she thought I'd never reach, that was the honesty she couldn't handle. And I hadn't said a cruel word. Final update, by the time a month had passed, the tension between Claire and me had become a silent storm hanging over the office. Nobody spoke of it directly, but everyone felt it. The meetings where she stumbled. The way her shoulders caved in every time I asked a neutral, professional question. The way she lingered near my door, as if searching for courage she couldn't find. Then one Wednesday morning, HR reached out again. This time, it wasn't about her complaints. It was about her resignation. She submitted her notice last night, the rep explained. She didn't give details, just said she wanted a fresh start elsewhere. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at the email. No glee, no satisfaction, just quiet. Because in that moment, it hit me, there was no grand revenge. No cinematic moment of triumph where she admitted defeat and I basked in vindication. It was just silence. She walked away from the company, and from me, the same way she had mocked me years before, like I wasn't enough. Only now, the roles had reversed. Her last day came quickly. She didn't stop by my office. She didn't send an email. I only knew she was gone when I saw her desk empty, drawers cleared, monitor powered off. A small plant she used to water daily sat abandoned, leaves drooping. Co-workers whispered, speculating where she'd go, why she left so suddenly. Some said she had family out of state. Others thought she'd try freelancing. I didn't add to the rumors. I just closed my office door and sat for a long while in silence. Weeks passed. Life moved on. My workload grew heavier, but with it came respect, stability, even new friendships with colleagues who now looked at me as a leader. I found myself planning for the future again, not in the desperate way I once did to prove something to her, but in a grounded, personal way. I started dating casually, slowly. Nothing serious at first. I wasn't chasing a replacement for her. I was learning how to let someone into my life without carrying the weight of old wounds. But every so often, late at night, I'd think back to that day she laughed at me, saying, "Going back to school at your age? How embarrassing." I remembered the sting, the heat in my face, the way I almost believed her. And I'd realized something profound. Her cruelty had been the spark that ignited my fire. If she hadn't mocked me, maybe I wouldn't have pushed myself as hard. Maybe I wouldn't have reached as high. Maybe I wouldn't have discovered just how much I was capable of. Her words were meant to break me. Instead, they built me. Months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was working at a smaller firm, struggling to adjust and living back with her parents. The image was almost too ironic. But I didn't laugh. I didn't gloat. Because by then, I understood, true success isn't about standing over someone else's ruins. It's about standing firm on your own. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need closure. I didn't need to remind her of what she lost. The silence was enough. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't revenge at all. It's peace.